All right, guys. Welcome back to the show. Today we are going to talk about the rental market. Misty is going to drop some knowledge. If you guys don't know, she does a lot of leasing and a lot of obviously property management, but she's going to talk a little bit about leasing, the market itself, and kind of what's going on and what you guys should expect. So, Misty, take it away. Kind of give us an idea of what you've been working on, things you've been working on lately. I know you got a couple leases, lease onlys you're working on right now. So, what's happening with those?
So the market has definitely changed since last year and the year before. It's getting a little bit slower moving. You're seeing more properties staying on the market longer. There's more properties available to the public than there was in the past, and so that brings on some competition in pricing and offerings and things like that. So you'll see, some more, specials out there, like if you sign up for 12 months, get the 13th month free
Where do
or
I get one of those?
or, special incentives to help get people signed up, first month free or something like that. Um, but they are sitting on the market longer, unless it's like one of those that is, like, really dolled up and looks really good and starts out with a good pricing.
Even those, though, we've seen sit longer than you would think.
Yeah, some of them have. Um, so I've seen a few landlords, unfortunately, they wanna, of course, capitalize on as much as they can and rent and, try to get exactly what they want up front, um, and be towards the top of the market for their property, and unfortunately, a lot of those are just sitting for a while.
Yeah.
Um
Well, I know we had one that sat for 5 months, and it
Mhm.
was not an ugly house.
Yep.
That was one of our own personals, and that was in that was a house we've had for a while. That sat for 5 months, and
Yeah, that was during the winter, so it is, going back to kinda pre-COVID times of where the winter's, harder to lease out than summertime and stuff. So yeah, they would sit longer. But right now it's summertime, so they should be flying off the shelves or, at least being the prime time to move.
mhm.
And, we are seeing a lot of people moving. There's just so much supply out there for them that you have to be competitive.
Yeah, I think too, where you gotta recognize the property you purchased, so because it and that's kinda why I like doing stuff like this podcast is you guys kinda hear a little bit anyone who listens to this, you're kinda hearing some of the inside conversations that Misty and I have already had, a lot of times, we we like to get up and eat breakfast in the morning together, sit outside, and we just it's like 2 old people, right? They just sit and chit-chat, and so we have these conversations a lot, maybe it's a property that's not moving as fast, and there's a variety of reasons why, so,
Mhm.
I know one of the reasons that you're going through right now, one of the properties that's been sitting for quite some time is it was just priced too high, and nobody ever you had no applications on that. It was priced too high, right?
Yes. Yes, priced too high for the type of property that it was
And for the area.
and for the area and the condition as well. Some some landlords, have the understanding of, I'll fix it up as good as I can for now, and then I know there's a few other things that I'd like to do to it, but I don't wanna do it until I get somebody in there.
Yeah, that's hard.
And that's
Mm.
hard to do because that one would, put somebody off from applying because they realize, "Hey, this stuff's not done." They say it's ready, and to me, it's not. So they either, 1, don't wanna apply, and then 2, if you do wait until you get somebody in there to fix it, then it's harder to fix because you not only have to go off of their schedule because they live there now, but you might have to move some of their stuff out of the way or, whatever, and it can be more, harder to schedule or more expensive.
So you had a property. Let's kind of recap on that because kind of what you're talking about. There's a property that you've pretty much you've completed. It took about 45 days to lease out, which really is not that long, by the way. I mean, that's
In this
actually
market,
yeah,
yeah.
that's not a long time. And but it was an odd property, and that property ended up having it had the owner was trying to lease it like they had like this little cottage in the back, which would have been fine. And then they had the main house, and the house is something like what I grew up in. It's like a 1920s house. It's I
Mhm.
mean, you know, But there were some things that were done to the home that you look and you're like, man, like the person who was hired to do the work just didn't really do the good job. This is not the landlord. This is the person who did the work. Didn't really do the best
That was
job.
hired by the
Yeah, they
landlord.
were hired by the landlord. That person just didn't do. They kind of cut corners and things like that. But I know that was one that frustrated you because you did everything you needed to do, and it was a hot property as far as like you got a lot of traction.
Yeah, it was
I kn
in a nice
It's a
area,
nice area. It
lots
was
of
yeah,
interest.
it was lots of interest. It's in a hot part of Dallas, and it was just busy. I mean, it was so busy. It kept numerous of our agents were so busy on that property that all the time, like, Misty, what are you doing? I'm working on. I got to do. I mean, the amount of applications that came in was wild. Like there was a lot of applications that came in on that one as well. I mean, it was a crazy amount of apps.
Mhm.
But the problem that they were running into was they were trying to lease, and this is where things I think stopped. They started out at a high price, right? And it was kind of like, hey, that's kind of high. And then they tried to lease the cottage and the main house separately.
Yeah.
And, if you guys know anything about like kind of how Misty and I's situation where we live, we have our house and we have several other buildings on the property that we live on and we lease out. We have a building that we lease out, some to a business, and it doesn't bug us because it's ours. But if you're renting somewhere and you have someone behind you and you're like, I don't know who it is, you're not sure if Jeffrey Dahmer is the one that's going to move in next. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know if Jeffrey Dahmer is the one that's
It's
moving next
easier
door.
to do that if the main house is already rented
Right.
because it's stabilized, and when they're going in to see that back house or cottage, they see that this person's taking care of the property, they've been there. It's not so threatening. But if you are going to and it's vacant and you go in and see the back house and you want the back house or even the front house and the back house is empty, then you're like, I don't know who's going to be there. And
Yeah.
that unknown is just threatening.
All they think about is Jeffrey Dahmer. They think they're like the television show. Like, is he gonna be in there? And then they move in, and then dude's moving some freezers to the cottage. What's that? So yeah, so that was
But
going against it.
yeah, and the owner didn't put a kitchenette or anything in that back house, and
Yeah.
so they basically had no kitchen in there, and
So
so that would have been an issue running it separately.
and
Where are they
so
going to eat?
yeah, and so
Prepare food.
it was definitely not. It was definitely difficult. So versus just renting those things together
Mhm.
all at once, I think it would have been easier. So the problem is I think, and I could be wrong, that house probably would have been running out a lot faster than 45 days. Now, 45 days is not, by the way, that's not bad at all. I actually was compared to it took, what was it, 6 months or more to even get it
Oh,
ready,
renovated. Yes,
renovated
it
was
was. I
the,
think. Let's see. Yeah, 5 months,
yeah, it was like one dude working on it. Like, it's taking forever, and,
and still had to
and
send them back a couple
yeah,
times.
it still has in the back. So then of course, it takes a while and the owner's frustrated because they're having to eventually drop the price. But had they just, my opinion, and we've had these conversations, if they just lease the whole thing out itself together at once and at the right price, it would have been gone in a couple weeks
Yeah.
because the amount of applications that came in was buck wild. That
Yep.
shit was crazy. I'm watching it like, my phone going da-ding, da-ding, app, new app, new app, new app. Like it was wild. But the owner had to take a haircut because they were trying to, they weren't, and it sucks because it didn't, the owner's like, thinks that, oh, for whatever reason, it should have gone faster the other way, but no, it's not the way this works because if it didn't, you have another property that you've dealt with that's have a similar situation that's not necessarily in that nice part of Dallas. It's
Mhm.
actually in a rough part of Fort Worth where they're trying to lease out both. It was overpriced. Unfortunately, that owner got bamboozled by an agent and paid way too much for the property. And now they're
Yeah, out of town investor.
out of town investor. And by the way, by no means making fun of any of these investors or any of these guys. Just these are just some things you got to think about. When you're trying to put someone else in someone's backyard, and they're like, "Is Jeffrey Dahmer going to be here?" It's two houses, two separate areas, two separate cities, trying to run the same gambit, and they're struggling to get it done. Now, someone else may hear this and go, "Well, I can get that shit done." That's cool. You can get that shit done too, but it's why make things harder?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a simplicity person. Just make shit easy for yourself. Make it easy where you don't have to think. And some people I think like complicated, but
And what makes it extra complicated is when the utilities are all on one property.
hmm
Yeah, so the back house, is tied into the front house, and so if you're trying to rent it out to two different people, then you have to worry about water and electric, and how you're going to be billing that, and it just oh makes it even more complicated.
so here's where things came, and this is why it's important that you're quick on your renovations, you're quick to turn things over, you are quick to get it leased, and you're quick to just do the shit right. So after all of that time on one of the on the one particular property, while you know it's been leased, but before it was leased and everything, there was no shades or no blinds on the property. So what happened? Someone came in, they stole the stove. They're like, "We're gonna take that, please," because all you do is walk up and you're looking in the window. You're like, and they've been watching it. This thing's been vacant for a long time. Oh, hey,
Mhm.
look, that's some. Go steal the stove. But had it just again, things just been done right the first time, it wouldn't have been as big of an issue. So, obviously wish well on the owners and hope that things work out. It's nothing that we're managing. It's just one of those things that you want those things to happen correctly. But sometimes people have this idea that it needs to be like this, but the reality is like, no, it's
It's
that.
better suited a
It's
different way.
better suited a different way. And so anybody that listens to this and you think, man, I probably should be doing a property that I should probably split this property up. I mean, it's not that easy sometimes. If you live there, I get it. But if you're trying to, this isn't the real world of MTV. Two strangers in two different houses come together. And today, Sally is gonna meet Bob. You know what I mean? Like it's just not the case. Like I think sometimes as landlords we can easily put ourselves in situations that we screw ourselves over by doing things like that. Let's split the property up. Let's make it, let's, oh, we'll do this with it. It's good to be creative, but at what point do you just make it simple?
Yeah.
You know? So those are some things you're seeing,
Mhm.
that's some stuff you've experienced. I know we had one property that was a beautiful property. In fact, I'll probably end up bringing him on as a guest. I plan to. We had him scheduled at one time. And he did a great job on a rehab. And I think that one's set for, was it 45, 60 days? No,
Which one?
the Arlington.
Oh, yes.
That was like 60 days. But it was a great school district,
Yes.
great
Nice
neighborhood,
area. Yeah.
nice house. The owner took a lot of pride in what he did. He bought the property. We actually were the agents on that. We helped him purchase it and he got a really good deal on it. And then he, was able to, we did the leasing for it. Misty did the leasing for it.
Yeah.
But it set longer and you would think that it wouldn't. You're like, there's no way that even
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way this thing's going to sit. Like, it's a pretty house. Put it, it was a 2-bed, turned into 3, redid the foundation, brand new flooring. There was no expense,
Yep.
and even after it got leased, even after it got leased, a few things came up, like the microwave broke and he had to go. There was no like, it wasn't a owner who didn't take care of anything.
Yeah.
He was on it over and over, but even that took 60 days to get leased. He's a friend
Yeah.
of mine. He's like, man, story, this thing's taking forever.
It's just a saturation of
Saturated. Misty coming with that saturation.
of the market.
You just came with a new word. It's a saturation.
Yeah,
The
just so
situation
no,
is
so many other properties on the market
is that
that
your
they
word
have
for situation
available.
and saturation? Situation and saturation put together. It's too much saturation, and this is the situation, so it's saturation. Misty's new word, saturation. It's a mix between situation and saturation. You guys didn't know you were learning new words today, did you? That's funny. But no, yeah, it is more saturated and it is a
Mhm.
different situation. So I guess yes, Misty, it's a
Yes.
saturation. Misty has some Indian words. But no, it's different. I mean, anything else you're seeing? I know there's a couple you're dealing with right now that beautiful property. Things are moving kind of slow, but it's the area.
Yeah.
the price.
Yeah. The owner's trying to, get as much as they can for it, and that's understandable. But it's going to sit longer,
Mm-hmm.
much longer, because especially the area it's in, it's not the best of areas. But we have it priced basically as it is,
Yeah.
and the best area, and it's not. And so it's just being overlooked right now.
There's like that sweet spot you
Mm-hmm.
can get pricing that you can get. I mean, even I would rather be a little under than too much over,
Yeah,
because
the vacancy just kills you.
hmm
I mean, you might
especially
as
single
well lower
family.
the price. Yeah, you got to lower that price to get somebody in there.
Yeah, especially single family. I mean, that same thing that happens on commercial too. I know we went through that on commercial with
Hmm.
one of our properties where it took a little while. It sat vacant for what, 6 months.
Yeah. The main thing with that is we were so picky about who
We
we
were picky,
selected because
but
we live there.
but the
And
but
yeah,
but there was things that needed to be done, and once we finally did
if we
those,
wanted to have a gambling company or auto shop, mechanic shop, something like that, it would have been gone like that.
you
But
don't want you don't want you don't want gambling on the property.
no, not necessarily.
No, what's wrong with that? Just, honey, I'll
get
be
get rated.
honey, I'll be back. I got some money to burn. I'm gonna walk down there.
Where's rent?
I don't know where the hell that went. Walk down there and go.
I went to get it and I ended up giving it back.
It's like a strip club. Rodney Carrington. Have you ever heard that one? They took my car. "Well, where's your car? I don't know. They took that too. It was a strip club and has no car. It's like disappears. Like they took his clothes, his car, and
Mhm.
his wallet, and so that's the lesson of don't go to the strip club or the gambling parlors in Fort Worth. They might take your car too and your rent money. But no, you're coming across some of those items, and I think it's just there is that sweet spot of rent that you gotta have, and you gotta have an. I mean, the market tells you at some point you just have to go. All right, this isn't working out. You know what I mean? As a landlord, guys, if you price it and you're like, this is just listen to what it's telling you. It's not. I know the market's not a real person, but you can pretty much go, yeah, this just isn't happening. I need to make an adjustment, and there's nothing wrong with that. Bite the bullet. Don't be too prideful and be like, well, I've got to
And
make
don't wait too
this,
long.
and don't wait too long. Yeah, in the eyes of someone else, like, why is it sitting so long?
Also, don't decrease your price every week. Yeah. Just if you're gonna do a price deduction, you know, put it where it should be, where it needs to be, and don't just keep lowering the price every week because
So
that looks bad.
another one that I've seen that we've talked about is raising the price and including things,
Yep.
right? So like you raise the price and you include lawn care and things like that. Man, that is awesome. But some people, they don't care. They're either gonna want to do their own lawn or
They're not gonna do the lawn and they're not gonna pay anybody for it, so they
yeah,
don't want it rolled in
they don't want
because
it
they don't
rolled
want to pay
in.
for it.
Washer and dryer. I have a some people may want to put a washer and dryer in. I don't think that's necessarily required. This is all preference, right? And all your own
Hmm.
personal want. But that one, if you put it in and then you raise the price on it, you might struggle with it because someone may say, "Well, I want my own washer dryer." And someone
Yeah.
else, yeah, you just never know, right? So again, these are just things we've come across over the course of time. Providing a fridge and that stuff. If you provide a fridge when that food goes out, guys, again, you're listening to this because you want to get into investing, or maybe you are an investor, and everybody has their own way of doing it. But
Yeah.
Misty and I have seen some stupid stuff, and people can be dumb, man, and they turn around and be like, "Well, your fridge broke, and now you owe me food."
Yep.
And you're like, "Well,
I just got done at the grocery store and I had $800 worth of groceries in
yeah."
there.
And then you have to say, "Well, one, how'd you get $800 worth of groceries in there?" Because I want to know.
Well, prices have increased.
Just saying. And then two, if it's your fridge, it's on you.
Yeah, and
That's your
especially like during COVID and stuff. I mean, a lot of people had trouble getting appliances in, and there was a long wait for them and
mhm.
stuff. So, or parts and things like that. So, yeah, if you're gonna include one, or yeah, We don't really on our properties, but if you do include one, you can put in there that it's not warranted.
Yeah, yeah. That's your $800 worth of food is your responsibility,
Yep.
not mine if that thing goes out. So, you know, but yeah, market's definitely different. It's changed. A couple things you got to pay attention to. Price it right. Don't overprice it, and just know the area. Know what you're buying. That's another one too. Know what you're buying. I see that sometimes where people they buy an area and they overprice it, and now you're stuck because you're trying to not
Yeah.
pay in.
Know what it would rent for in that area before you buy it because your
Con
numbers have to make sense.
You can always contact a property management company. You can always do that. You can, hey, what would it, is this right? Is this going to rent for this? Now some may tell you, yeah, absolutely, and others may say you got to work with me before I start really getting too deep into that. But I mean, at the end of the day, you can contact a property management company and say, hey, what do you think? Is this right? And they can run the numbers really quick. So I've got my numbers down, especially on certain stuff. It's fast. Like, yeah, we're good. We'll be able to rent this. So I try to be, was it Dave Chappelle's Nicodamus? Yeah, with my prices. So far, I've done pretty all right. If you haven't seen Dave Chappelle Nicodamus, you need to go watch that. So, some people are like, "What? Who? Dave Chappelle?" No. But no, yeah, you definitely got to price it right, and that's it. So, anything else, Misty, you've been seeing?
Uh, I would just say make sure that it is ready to go. Don't hold off on that maintenance till you get somebody in there. It needs to be completed, and that way you're not losing out on people on the front end. And then eventually you get around to doing it because it hasn't been rented out, and you could have saved so much time and effort.
Yeah. Complete the front yard, put on blinds, little stuff like that goes a long way.
Mow the yard regularly.
Yeah, that's hard to
Keep it
show.
mowed. When you show up to show it to somebody and it's 1 to 2 feet tall, you probably just lost that person.
Yeah, they're like, nope, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, hope that helps. If take care of your stuff, take care of your property, and go watch Dave Chappelle. And we'll catch you guys next time.